Imagine if a black female college student was walking around, minding her own business, when suddenly a white male student comes up to her and starts berating her for her hairstyle, telling her she shouldn't be allowed to wear her hair that way because it's a white hairstyle, and only white people should be allowed to wear their hair that way. Now imagine this black woman declares that she doesn't need to justify herself to him and tries to walk away, but then the white guy grabs her arm to keep her from walking away so he can continue berating her. All of us would agree that the white guy in this situation is being racist and that his behavior is totally unacceptable. Telling people what they should or shouldn't be allowed to do based on their race is an act of racism, and grabbing somebody without their permission to keep them from walking away is a form of assault. All of us would agree that the white guy should face disciplinary action or even expulsion. But now I want you to imagine if the situation were reversed. Imagine a white male college student walking around, minding his own business, when suddenly a black female student comes up and starts berating him for his hairstyle, getting up in his face about how he shouldn't be allowed to wear his hair that way because he's white, and then grabbing him by the arm to keep him from walking away. How many of you would agree that this woman's behavior is racist and unacceptable? Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened at San Francisco State University on March 28, 2016. White student Corey Goldstein was in the Cesar Chavez Student Center when fellow student Bonita Tyndall told him, "Sorry, we don't want people with your hair here." Not wanting a confrontation, Corey walked away, but then Bonita followed him down 2 flights of stairs to continue harassing him. The reason she did this? Because Corey was wearing dreadlocks, and white people shouldn't be allowed to wear dreadlocks because that's cultural appropriation. Now, ignoring the fact that dreadlocks are by no means an artifact exclusively belonging to black culture, as the hairstyle actually sprung up in multiple cultures around the world completely independent of each other, cultural appropriation is a racist concept put forth by racist social justice warriors to promote their racist segregationist agenda. It's the idea that only people of a particular ethnic group should be allowed to do certain things, thereby establishing clear boundaries by which the races are separated. These people with this skin color are allowed to do these things, those people with that skin color are allowed to do those things, let's keep them separate. Anybody other than a racist lacking the objectivity to realize that they are racist could possibly fail to see this as a patently racist idea. And yet, this racist nonsense is constantly being peddled on American college campuses by both the racist professors and among the racist student groups. I'm using the word racist a lot. That's because racist is an attention-grabbing buzzword. If there are any racist SJWs watching this, I want you to understand that there's nothing racist about somebody copying something from another culture. All cultures do it, all cultures have always done it, and all cultures will continue doing it. It's a normal part of the way societies interact with each other. It's how different philosophical and scientific ideas get spread around, how languages evolve, how we learn about each other and learn to coexist. But you want to segregate people into little boxes with labels and dictate what people should and shouldn't be allowed to do, say, wear, eat, read, perform, and listen to, all based on race. You are a racist, and it's baffling. The sharing of cultural memes is how cultures enrich themselves and each other with a diversity of ideas and foster mutual understanding between ethnic groups and promote diversity, which is something I thought you people were in favor of. I'm convinced this is all about hatred of white people. Think about it. Why is it that racism is only ever a problem when it's being done by white people? I'm not even talking about racism by black people directed towards white people. I mean racism from anybody who isn't white being directed toward anybody else. You never see SJWs getting up in arms about black people saying racist things about Hispanics, or Hispanics saying racist things about Asians, and so on. It's like they don't care unless it gives them an opportunity to hate on white people. I don't know, that just seems pretty racist to me.
When we were walking, the green light was on, and when we were crossing the crosswalk, there is a car just rushed through us, driven by an African American, shouting that go back to your home, like go back from where you are from, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then a white lady just parked right by us and say, "Are you okay? Are you hurt of anyway?" We're not hurt. It's just shocked and scared of our safety. And this white lady kindly asked, can I call the police? Can I do anything for you? We were like, "It's okay. Thank you very much for your care." The point I'm making here is that we should not distinguish people by their race or gender or anything. Black people can be racist. White people, sorry.
Oh no.
I will drag this out.
Let her talk.
Sorry. I just mean that we have to look people individually.
Racism is prejudice with power.
There are people, sorry, maybe I don't articulate myself good enough. There are good people and there are people who are not that embracing to other cultures, who may not live up to standards of proper behaviors. But we have to look through hearts. We have to look into this person and see what she or he really is. Look from the heart, the action, not the race.
Okay.
What makes it wrong for white people to appropriate the culture of other people? I mean, isn't that exactly what this girl is doing by wearing Western-style clothes? I never hear any of these people complaining about black people listening to white music, eating white food, or wearing white haircuts. So why is it okay for black people to appropriate white culture, but not the other way around? When asked this question, SJWs will usually default to the typical power structures argument. It's okay for black people to appropriate white culture because black people are systemically oppressed and white people are not. It always comes back to playing the victim to make it okay for black people to be intolerant and bigoted, while white people are condemned as racist for doing the same thing. It's okay for black people to hate white people because white people are the oppressors. They're punching up. Racism towards white people doesn't exist because racism is privilege plus power, and white people have all the privilege and power. Does anybody out there honestly believe this is a compelling argument? I mean, do the people who use this argument even think it's a good one, or is it something they just tell themselves because it appeals to their victim complex and acts as a get-out-of-jail-free card to enable themselves to call other people racist while deflecting accusations of racism levied toward them? 3 things. 1. Nowhere in any dictionary or legal handbook does it stipulate that racism has to be systemic and institutionalized for it to count. Stop trying to redefine words to suit your needs. You're not fooling anyone but yourself. 2. Whether or not the prejudice or discrimination being experienced by an individual are systemic and institutionalized makes no difference to the person who's experiencing it. If you saw a white guy walking down the street and 5 black guys yelled, "Get that honky," and proceeded to chase after him and beat him down, would you seriously argue that isn't an act of racism because it wasn't systemic? 3. It's a self-defeating argument because not all white people are part of an institution. Cletus and Jim Bob down at the Walmart hanging Confederate flags on their pickup truck aren't representing any kind of organized system. So if racism has to be systemic and institutionalized for it to count, are they not being racist when they yell racial slurs at black people walking down the street? If they are, then why? Them yelling at people isn't systemic and institutionalized, so why are they racist? At this point, the only way you can argue that they're being racist when black people who do the same things aren't is simply because they're white. If it's racist for a white person to discriminate based on skin color, then it's racist for a black person to do the same thing. Case closed. The only people who are too stupid to see through his privilege plus power nonsense are the SJWs themselves. I will be talking more about the power structures argument in a future video, but for now, let's get back to the incident at SFSU. Bonita Tyndall is a bully. Her actions that we see her doing in the video are the actions of a bully, and the worst kind of bully, a self-righteous one who thinks they have the moral high ground. Let's watch the video. Listen carefully. Right off the bat, the very first thing we hear in the video is Bonita asking her friend in the trench coat if they have any scissors. She is threatening to cut Corey's hair because she doesn't like it. In her self-righteous furor, she believes she is justified in cutting another person's hair against their will because she has a problem with it. Next, after a brief argument, Corey decides he doesn't need to justify himself to her, which he doesn't. Then he tries to walk away and go about his business. But Bonita won't let him. She stands in his way, deliberately blocking him from leaving. She wants to keep him there so she can continue to berate him. This is harassment. Next, we see her actually grabbing his sleeve and pulling on it. Corey clearly demands that she let go of him.
Get off of me!
Come back!
But Bonita pulls him back. Even after Corey clearly expresses his desire to be left alone, she physically restrains him from leaving. This is assault, and she smiles while she does it. Another brief argument breaks out during which Bonita tells Corey to not put his hands on her.
You put your hands on me, no words.
Like, you know, makes some shit because what the heck?
The hypocrisy is astounding. After blocking his path and grabbing him, she has the audacity to tell him not to touch her. But he didn't even touch her. You can clearly see in the video that she was the one touching him, and at no point did he put his hands on her. She is playing the victim. It's not until Bonita realizes she's being videotaped that she lets Corey go without trying to stop him, at which point she turns her attention to the person with the camera and tries to snatch it from him.
I don't need your disrespect.
Why are you filming this?
Just for everyone's safety.
This is where the video ends. I think there is no ambiguity as to what's going on in this video. Corey did not provoke Bonita. He did not even fight back. All he wanted to do was be left alone, but Bonita wouldn't have it. She wanted to force her narrow-minded ideas about race and culture upon him, which is something she has no right to do. These are the actions of somebody who demands respect but is unwilling to respect others. These are the actions of a bully and a racist. But here's the real kicker. The fact that Bonita tried to snatch the camera and destroy the evidence goes to show that, at least on some level, she knows that she's in the wrong. Deep down, she knows she's being a racist bully. Just like all the other SJWs out there who try to force their way of thinking onto others, who try to silence those who disagree with them, who say hateful things and make judgments about other people based on their skin color. Deep down, these people know they're in the wrong, but they perform these mental gymnastics to convince themselves they're in the right. In their haughty, sanctimonious worldview, they are the only ones who fight for justice, but it is such a slanted and grotesque parody of justice that they need to rely on bully tactics to execute it. Bonita's actions are symptomatic of the problem with the entire SJW movement. These are people who believe that they are good and everyone else is bad, and they are justified in doing bad things to people for the greater good. Whether it's making racist proclamations about white people, shouting down and disrupting the conferences of people they don't agree with, or harassing somebody for drawing pictures they don't like, to the point where the artist tries to kill herself, they think it's all justified because it's for the greater good. And what is the greater good? A world in which black people are segregated from white people, a world in which men and women are afraid of each other, a world in which they get to decide who's allowed to speak, a world in which equality means whatever they want. Corey decided not to press charges, leaving it up to the school to decide how to handle the situation. Bonita should face disciplinary action, but let's face it, she probably won't. If the situation had been reversed, if it was a white man harassing and assaulting a black woman, you can bet that that man would be expelled, but I'm willing to bet that Bonita won't be. Even if she was, Black Lives Matter and other SJWs would probably say it was because of white supremacists in the administration. The fact that she was caught on camera harassing and physically assaulting a student who did nothing to provoke her other than wear a hairstyle she doesn't like would be completely lost on them. They would say she is the victim, Corey is the instigator, and it's all about the white man keeping black people down, and only they would be dumb enough to fall for it. I'd like to end this with one final statement that I think gets to the heart of the issue. I question the notion that there exists any such thing as black culture or white culture, or any other skin color based culture, because your cultural values are not determined by your skin color. They're determined by the environment you are raised in, where you're from, your socioeconomic class, what media you were exposed to, and so on. A black person who was raised in a middle-class suburban neighborhood isn't going to have the same life experiences as a black person who grew up impoverished in the inner city, so he's not going to have the same way of thinking, and the same thing is true for people of all races. If you believe that something as superficial as skin color is the primary determinant of cultural values, then you believe it's possible to judge a person's character based on their skin color. You believe that you can look at somebody's skin color and instantly know what their preferences, political views, religious philosophies, and moral values are. There's a word for that. Stereotyping. And that's racist.